Rain slid down the cafe windows like quiet tears, soft and cold, as if the sky itself felt what Daniel was feeling. He kept glancing at his watch, then at the door, then back at his watch again. Every passing minute pressed a little harder on his heart. It was his first attempt at a blind date in years, his first attempt at letting someone in after life had taken so much from him. He wasn't just nervous. He was terrified. Terrified that he didn't belong in the world of dating anymore. Terrified that no one wanted a man with a child. Terrified that the loneliness he pretended he didn't feel had become permanent. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, sat beside him with her coloring book, swinging her short legs cheerfully, completely unaware of the storm inside her father's chest. "Daddy," she asked with innocent curiosity, "when will the lady come?" Daniel tried to smile. "Maybe soon, sweetheart." But soon never came. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then almost a whole hour. The cafe buzzed with soft conversation, clinking cups, and warm light, but Daniel felt like he was slowly fading into the background. When the waitress walked over, holding a cup of steaming coffee and wearing a sympathetic look he had seen too many times, Daniel already knew what she was going to say. "Sir, I don't think your date is coming." For one quick moment, everything inside him froze. Then he forced a gentle nod. "It's all right. Thank you." It wasn't all right. But Daniel had long mastered the art of pretending. He packed Lily's crayons, slipped her small pink jacket on her, and lifted the tiny umbrella he always carried in his backpack, because life had taught him to always be prepared for storms, even the ones that weren't weather-related. They stepped out into the drizzle, water soaking into his old jeans. Lily grabbed his hand tightly. "Daddy, are you sad?" "No," he said softly. "Daddy's okay." But the truth was heavy, he was tired. Tired of trying. Tired of hoping. Tired of believing that maybe someone out there might still choose a man who came with responsibility, routines, and a little girl who depended on him for everything. He didn't know one thing, though, something that could have changed the entire meaning of the night. Someone had been waiting. Someone had shown up. Someone had noticed everything. In the cafe's far corner sat a man in a perfectly tailored suit, sharp eyes observing quietly, his presence magnetic enough that a few customers had probably recognized him. He had arrived early and taken a private seat, expecting his own blind date. His name was Ethan Hale. A billionaire. A man used to control, confidence, and a world where he never needed to wait for anyone. But he had waited. And he had seen Daniel walk in with Lily. At first he assumed Daniel was just another customer. But when the moment stretched on, and the single dad kept checking his phone with hopeful eyes, Ethan realized Daniel was the date. His date. And something inside Ethan Hale, something he thought was long dead, stirred when he watched Daniel with his daughter. Daniel didn't show frustration. He didn't complain. He didn't blame anyone. Instead, he helped Lily with her crayons, wiped her mouth gently, laughed softly at her jokes, and when the realization hit him that he had been stood up, he simply gave a tired but kind half-smile and left. Ethan watched him walk out into the rain, shoulders a little hunched, child's umbrella shielding both of them. Ethan hadn't moved. He sat there, thinking, conflicted, unable to shake the feeling that he had just seen something rare, something genuine. He should have gotten up earlier. He should have spoken sooner. He should have walked over and said, "I think, we're meant to meet." But he hadn't. Because for the first time in years, Ethan Hale didn't know what to say. And yet, he didn't leave. He kept sitting. Thinking. Feeling something strange and unfamiliar. Finally, as Daniel and Lily reached the bus stop down the block, Ethan stood up as though pushed forward by some invisible force. And maybe he was. Because some people you don't let walk away. Some people you follow into the rain. Part 2. Ethan stepped out of the cafe, the chill of the night air brushing against his face. The streets glistened with rainwater, reflecting the soft glow of street lamps. He scanned the sidewalk until he saw them, Daniel standing at the bus stop, holding the umbrella over Lily while his own shoulders remained uncovered, raindrops sliding down his hair and onto his jacket. That scene, simple, ordinary, and heartbreakingly tender, hit Ethan harder than he expected. He swallowed, hesitated for a fraction of a second, then walked forward. "Daniel," he called out. Daniel turned, surprised. His brows lifted for a moment before confusion settled over his features. "Yes," he answered cautiously. Ethan offered a small, nervous smile, the kind no magazine had ever captured on him. "I think, we were supposed to meet tonight." Daniel blinked. Stared. Blinked again. "You're Ethan?" "Yeah," he said, rubbing the back of his neck awkwardly. "I know this is strange. I think we both waited in the same place but never realized it." For the first time all evening, Daniel's face showed real emotion, shock, embarrassment, hope tangled with disbelief. Before Daniel could speak, Lily stepped forward with her tiny voice and big eyes. "Are you Daddy's friend?" Ethan crouched down, his expensive suit brushing against the wet pavement, making him look suddenly human, ordinary, even sweet. "I'd like to be," he said gently. Lily smiled before hiding behind Daniel's leg. "You talk nice." Ethan laughed softly, and something inside Daniel cracked, something warm, something he thought he wouldn't feel again. Ethan cleared his throat. "Would you both like to go back inside? Maybe, start over?" Daniel hesitated. He wasn't used to second chances. But then he nodded. And the three of them walked back into the cafe, Lily hopping in puddles while Ethan held the umbrella. Inside, they sat at a small table, steam rising from their drinks, coffee for Ethan, hot chocolate for Lily, water for Daniel because he never wasted money unnecessarily. Conversation started awkwardly but soon softened. Ethan spoke about growing up alone, about how wealth made people treat him like an object, not a human. How trust was rare. How the blind date was supposed to be a test for himself, to try being open with someone again. Daniel shared less, but Ethan picked up everything between the lines. How Daniel lost his wife to illness. How he struggled through jobs and bills. How Lily became his whole world. How he forgot what it meant to be seen as a man, not just a father. Ethan found himself leaning forward, captivated by the quiet strength Daniel didn't know he had. "Daniel," Ethan finally said, voice steady but soft, "you're remarkable." Daniel shook his head. "I'm just trying to survive." "Maybe. But you're doing it with more grace than anyone I've met." Lily giggled, chocolate foam on her lips, and Ethan gently wiped it with a napkin. Daniel froze at the sight, his heart lurching in a way he hadn't expected. He watched this billionaire, this man who lived in penthouses and traveled in private jets, tenderly clean a child's face without hesitation. Something shifted inside Daniel. Something he didn't dare name yet. Hours passed. The cafe emptied. Night deepened. Lily fell asleep with her head on Daniel's lap, and Ethan found himself unable to look away from the soft way Daniel stroked her hair. When they finally stood outside again, the rain had stopped. Ethan took a breath. "Let me at least drive you home." Daniel shook his head. "I don't want to be a burden." Ethan stepped closer. Close enough that Daniel could see the honesty in his eyes. "You're not a burden," he said quietly. "You're the first person in years who feels real to me." Daniel didn't know what to say. Before he could respond, Lily, half asleep, whispered, "Daddy, can Mr. Ethan come again?" Daniel looked down at her. Then up at Ethan. Then, for the first time in a very long time, he let his heart speak. "If he wants to," Daniel said softly. Ethan smiled, the kind of smile that didn't belong to a billionaire, but to a man who had just found something valuable. "I want to," he replied. The night air was calm, gentle, and filled with a warmth Daniel hadn't felt in years. The blind date wasn't over. It hadn't failed. It had only just begun.